Billie Jean is not my lover. She's just a girl who thinks that I'm the one. And I'm going to tell you how we got there. I'm going to tell you how we got to that point. This is a story from back in the day. Part 3 is attached to part 2. Part 3 has a piece, an extension of part 2. Because if you paid attention to part 2, then you're going to know when I tell you this now, that part 3 is tied to the woman was the one that I wanted to go to the prom with. And how that didn't pan out. But there was a couple of things that happened between me and the other Billie Jean. The new Billie Jean. I already felt bad about not going with the woman to the prom, to the girl with the prom, to the prom. I already felt bad about that. Then I have an opportunity to have a relationship with the one that I didn't go to the prom with, that I wanted to go to the prom with, but asked me late to go to the prom, which I didn't have enough guts to ask her to go to the prom. Y'all get it. So, me and Billie Jean now in a relationship. This is over the summer, right after high school. Great times, right? But Billie Jean is not my lover. You know, she's just a girl who thinks that I'm the one. Because I've done some things in high school that look prosperous. And they look like they have a good future to them. So I can't blame her. Can't blame her at all. But anyway, one of the stories is early, and then one is in the end, and I'm going to close it with that one. The early one was, I thought, now here's where my shaping of relationships don't work, started to take a little bit of, well, I guess definition, but I didn't realize it. I thought we were in a relationship. And I can remember this one incident that I'm about to tell you about. I went over to Billie Jean's house. I was over Billie Jean's house. Billie Jean's mother ended up getting in on the act. Not the way y'all might be thinking. Get y'all mind out the gutter. I didn't say this was a Merry Christmas story or nothing like that. But if you seen her mother, be more like a nightmare anyway. Duplex Palace. But anyway, her mother was in on the act. I'm sitting in the living room. Mother gives me the remote control. I'm young, 17 still, because I graduated early. In the confines somewhat of my own home, in their place, with a remote control like I'm baby boy, or somebody like that, Tyrese. So, the doorbell rings. Uh-oh. Now, I'm not smart. I'm very smart. And I'm not bright. I'm very bright. So I got those same kind of instincts that anybody else got inside of their guts. I'm like, who is that at the door? Billie Jean scrambles to go and get it. Her mother jumps up, stands in front of me for entertainment sake, trying to entertain me with vocals, and start to flood my ears with compliments and all kind of things about how great I am. So without stepping on the gas pedal, I do like my boy Fletch saying, I pumped the brakes and I sat back down. Since as a king I was being entertained by her mama, it was only right that I sit down and receive these types of accolades because they was true. But Billie Jean is at the door for a long time. So long that I'm starting to say to myself, she out there talking to another dude. Now I'm saying this for myself for the story, and I believe that my lying and cheating mind told me something that may or may not have happened. I could have swore that at a glance I saw him standing by the balcony on the porch. I didn't say anything. To this day, I haven't said anything. But you see, Billie Jean was not my lover. She's just a girl who thought that I was the one. Part 2 of this episode with this same Billie Jean. A few years later, we're older. Separation had already been created. There was a divide between us, and then there was some form of a reunite. But at this time, I was already in the confines of what's considered a marriage. Rings, vows, and things have been spoken at this point. So I'm in a different territory. Not only mentally, spiritually, but also physically. I'm now 4 hours away. We're both now 4 hours away from our natural turf. And lo and behold, me and my future bride, or my new bride, whichever one it was at that point. I blocked out everybody. But we was newbies. And we went to a club. I walk into the club and we're in there. Now, if you, me, and I want you to plug yourself into the story. If you are 4 hours away from where you was born, your natural habitat, or if you longer, you're not really well, I wasn't expecting, I'm gonna say make it personal, because somebody gonna tell me how great they are in their story. I wasn't expecting to see anybody that I knew, let alone Billie Jean. I saw Billie Jean and my mouth almost hit the floor. Billie Jean, because her background and stuff has what they call a ghetto form to it, she approaches me. Now we can do a question and answer if y'all want to. She may have came over to me and approached me because I was a familiar face in an unfamiliar territory. That could have been one. Or it could have just been a hater's move to try to slide in to see who was that I was with. I would say make a long story short, but it's too late. See, Billie Jean was not my lover. She was just a girl who thought that I was the one. So when I spoke and even introduced Billie Jean to my wife, there was some distinction in the room. There was a sense of hotness that came over in a frigid environment. My wife's attitude changed. She was curious. Didn't do it at that moment, but I knew it was coming. Curious to find out who Billie Jean was. Billie Jean proceeds to try to sit down with us in an environment that creates a triangle, which is not going to work. Especially with both of us being young, and all three of us being young, that's not going to get it. So needless to say, when we separated ourselves and the night was over, and we driving back in my brand new car, because I was hoping that some of these material items that I had at this stage would be enough of a distraction to not have conversation in this vehicle about Billie Jean. So what do? Man, it was a nice night. We got a chance to dance, get out, but it didn't work. It didn't work. Seeing Billie Jean and Billie Jean's behavior spoiled that particular evening on that night and caused problems from the rooter to the tutor. But this is the story of Billie Jean, and I would say to you, don't let Billie Jean ruin your relationship, or don't let Billie Jean get an opportunity to get into your relationship to cause you problems.